Steph, you're completing your second term now.
Yes.
And so you're running for your third term.
Yes.
And I think, like, you didn't grow up here either.
No, I didn't. I was born in New York. I was raised in New York, and I moved here in 2001, right after, actually it was right before 9/11 when we first put the bid in for our first home, which was in the village section of Middletown. And I had a 5-month-old at the time.
Wow.
I have 3 children now. So my oldest is 16 now. And
wow.
Yeah, that was our first home. That's
3 children, 16?
16, 13, and one who just turned 12.
Wow.
So 7th grade, 8th grade, and a junior in high school.
Boys, girls?
Girl, boy, girl.
Girl, boy, girl.
Yep. They keep me busy. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I did. I moved here from, we lived in Manhattan. We lived in Staten Island. I was born in Brooklyn, and then we moved out to Middletown, and we've been here ever since.
And how did you pick Middletown?
Well, it was, I had always been familiar with the area. I had some family out here in Monmouth County, and Middletown was a place that I had always loved. It seemed to offer everything in one place, especially coming from more of a city and more of an urban environment. I was able to get to the city. I was able to get out to the country. I was able to enjoy the beach. It was just, it was perfect for me. And I always was very attracted to the history. And Middletown, as many of our residents know by now, is a bastion of heritage and historic treasures. So I really do love that aspect of the town. It's something that I enjoy. I like to fancy myself an amateur historian, but an amateur at that. So. Yeah.
And so, what got you interested in running for office?
So, if you ever asked me growing up, it was never something that I would ever consider. It was something that evolved for me over time. As I came here and after 9/11, I had a much more heightened interest in the community and what was going on. And one thing led to another, and I met certain people that were involved in town, and they asked me if I wanted to be more involved, and of course I wanted to be more involved. I wanted to make a difference in my children's lives and in the lives of my neighbors, because I think it's important to be happy where you live. It's important to love where you live. It's important to want to come home at night and be proud of where you are. And I've always shared that with my family, and I want to be involved. So one thing led to another, and I found myself running for office. And it was something that kind of organically happened. It wasn't something I set out to do.
Were you already involved in the community?
Yeah, I had been appointed to various boards and commissions. I started a women's group, which kind of evolved. It was Middletown Mornings. That was when I first really began to get involved in the larger community, and that was monthly meetings where I would invite different people from the community to come and speak to the group of moms, which became just a group of anyone that wanted to come. So it was awesome. It was fantastic, and it was very pure, and it really wasn't very political. It was just a sense of getting information out there and interacting with the community. So, and from that I got more and more involved and more interested, and as time went by I realized that I have a calling for community service. So I really do love doing this type of public service. So it means a lot to me, and it's very fulfilling. So.
Well, and more Monmouth Musings actually broke the news.
Yeah, oh yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
You actually made public service a career.
I did. I went back to school. I went to the Rutgers School of Public Administration, and I became a certified manager. It was a year-long worth of school. And in the beginning, you think you're so excited to go back to school as a grown-up. And then in the beginning, it's great, and you're sitting there, and you love it. And then after a while, you realize why it's so much harder for you to go back when you're an adult, because you're sitting there, you're doing homework, you have projects. And it's strange, when you're a mom of 3 and you're running around, to be able to buckle down and be able to sit there and study and do homework and projects. So it definitely was a wonderful experience, and it was a very interesting experience, because it wasn't quite what I expected it to be, but it was worth every minute. So
Really?
yeah.
What surprised you about it?
It just the kind of people that were in that program. There were people from all different backgrounds, from Ocean County, Monmouth County. We actually even had a few from further up in Middlesex. So it was just a really interesting group of people from all different areas in municipal and county government, some in the state government. So to be able to come together and really share with each other what we do on a daily basis, it was a really rich learning experience. So one I'm very appreciative of, and I also made some great friends, which I'm really excited about too. So.
Good. And
Yeah.
you recently got a job.
Yes, I did. I am the administrator in West Long Branch. So I'm very grateful for that and very happy to be there, because that's public service is really my calling. And it's funny because in a million years at this point in my life, when you're approaching your 30s and your early 40s, I never thought that this would be my calling in life. You think you kind of know that prior to now, but it just goes to show you never know.
Well, what was your early career at a college? You went to college, right?
I did. I went to Fordham. I graduated from Fordham. I also briefly was at Villanova for a while, and then I transferred into Fordham. And I actually worked through college. I worked the whole time I was in college. And when I graduated, I worked on Wall Street for a while. I worked on the floor of the Exchange. I worked for UBS. And I thought that was also the direction I was going in. And then I wound up getting married, and then I started having my children. So, yeah, I had 3 kids in 5 years.
And you had a small business while you were...
I did. I ran a small business. It was a small publishing company, and we published science fiction and fantasy novels, because I also have a love of science fiction and fantasy. So I did that for
did you write your own
several
site?
years.
You write your own site?
Yeah, nothing that I've ever really put out there. So I'm too much of a perfectionist. Maybe one day, I'll get it exactly right, and I'll push it out there the right way. But yeah. But I do have a love of writing, so which is why I like to do a lot with our PIO and our public information in Middletown. So.
Okay, well, and Steph, more than a lot of elected officials, especially on the local level, you've had a light shine on you by the press.
Oh yes.
You know, I guess it was about a year ago, or maybe less. Somebody either found it or did whatever. They decided to make an issue out of some financial problems that
Yes.
you and your husband had.
Yes.
And so, first of all, how did that work out?
It's worked out. I mean, you know, it's unfortunate that that's the kind of stuff that people attack others for. There was no shame in what had happened with my family.
What did happen?
Years ago, my husband was laid off. He didn't lose his job. His job was actually eliminated. The whole department was eliminated. And, you know, when you're young and you have 3 kids, you're starting all over again. So we've been making our way back since then. And, you know, it's unfortunate that that's the kind of thing that people are trying to seize on. You know, it's a sad situation, but it's a very common situation. So there's no shame in it. It's just unfortunate. Definitely not on my bucket list. You definitely don't want to be out in the papers being abused and made fun of, and having people on social media make savage remarks. But, you know, I signed up for this. I love public service, and, you know, I can't let that, you know, unfortunate situation that in the press chase me away from doing what I think is important. If the people don't want me anymore, then the people don't want me anymore. But I'm not going to let negative press over something that really wasn't accurate or true push me away from doing what I love. So, and it's definitely not easy, but you do what you do because you want to do it.
Because they tried to make a scandal out of your financial problems, which was
right.
You got behind on your mortgage and
right. We had refinanced my home, and when the Asbury Park Press reporter spoke to me about it, I told him that we had been undergoing a refi for a while, and unfortunately, it's a long, arduous process, and I wish that on no one. And we didn't hire a lawyer; we went through it ourselves with the bank. And it unfortunately took such a long time to work out, and I had told him that we had in fact secured our refinance at last, and it didn't matter, I did the article anyway. So it
Okay, and there was a tax thing too.
Yeah, same thing. That was also a dispute that we had with the IRS, but we had, since I told them the same thing, that we had hired a company to resolve that for us. So, and I fully see all of that being resolved as well. So clearly I'm still in my home. So.
What was that whole ordeal, that publicity? And they tried to reignite the controversy, it seemed to be the Asbury Park Press, when you got that job.
I don't know why people do the things that they do. I'm guessing it's because it's silly season and it's an election and there's probably nothing else to try to attack me on or whatever. So they want to bring that up, and I guess it gets clicks. It gets clicks. So.
What was the whole experience like for your children?
It was a very difficult time for my children. I mean, they were young at the time, and unfortunately you try to shield your family as much as possible from that kind of stuff. Of course they did. Of course they did. And I have an older daughter, and she's certainly able to read social media. And, you know, it was definitely an unfortunate experience. But as I said, I'm not going to let that keep me from what I love to do, and I'm not going to let somebody's, you know, trashy story try to stop us from, you know, living the best life that we possibly can, which we do. So.
Good. Well, I'm glad that's all behind you.
Well, yeah, and you know, I also hope that, you know, anybody that does hear that story and you know, maybe they can identify with me and know that you can, you know, you can move forward from things like that, and if you work hard and do the right thing, that there is a way to right all of those things, and it's really not the end of the world when you do the right thing and, you know, you keep on keeping on.